Welcome to Voices of Transformation. My name is Umang Norén, and today I have the pleasure of having Ryan Montis with me. I have known Ryan on site for about two and a half years and been in a couple of his programs, so it's my profound pleasure to have you as my guest. And I know you are a big name in the industry, and perhaps not everybody have heard about you and what you do. So would you please like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So hi, Oman, and thank you for inviting me to be here and to be interviewed. I'm very honored and excited for this recording. And yeah, my name is Ryan. I'm a trainer of NLP and hypnotherapy and coaching. And predominantly what I do these days is holistic coaching for hypnotherapists and coaches, where we dive into skills, business strategy, and mindset, the whole deal. So that's what I'm up to. Oh, and I'm from Canada. I live in Canada.
That's cool. That's where you say "and anyways" when we in Sweden learn how to say "in any way." So that was one of the first things I asked you on a live call.
Is that
So
right? Yeah, I say
yeah.
both. Sometimes I say anyway, sometimes I say anyways, which is very
Mhm.
common. Maybe it's contextual.
Probably. I'd like to ask you how you got into this in the very beginning. I'm sure you did wasn't born with the curiosity of NLP and hypnosis. So what got you interested in this?
Yeah, so initially what got me interested in NLP and hypnosis um, was starting out in personal development. So in my late teens, I was facing a lot of challenges, emotional challenges, confidence, self-esteem, um, social anxiety, a lot of things like that. And it was pretty severe. Like, it was very limiting for me, to the point that, I was actively trying to seek solutions and take whatever measures I could to escape those painful problems, which eventually led me, among other things, to personal development and self-help books, right? And so I started, I remember the first book I bought. Um, and I remembered, like, going down that rabbit hole of learning about personal development, which very quickly led to learning about the unconscious mind and the subconscious mind. And soon after that, what I realized was, even though different authors and different experts were using different terms, different terminology, and different jargon, a lot of them, in fact, most of them, were pretty much alluding to the same common themes. If you want to change your results in life, you want to change your capabilities in life, you must first change the programming inside your mind, particularly the subconscious and unconscious programming. That was, a common thread and a light bulb moment for me. And then the next common thread was the people who seem to be getting the best results in doing that, in changing the programming inside of them, were using basically two things: hypnotherapy and neurolinguistic programming. And so that was on my radar probably right around the time I was like 19 or 20. And that's when I started studying it. And over the next, well, up until this date, I've been studying those things. But over the next 15 years, I really consumed as much information as I possibly could about NLP, hypnosis, timeline therapy, similar modalities. Absorbing the work of the gurus, Richard Bandler, John Grinder, lots of others as well. And that's how I got into it. That's how I got it. It was born from pain,
Hmm.
something
Away
a
from
beautiful.
to.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So do you remember your first aha moment as a teenager when it really clicked and made a difference? Because I hear that you were really interested and you very quickly caught on, but what was your first experience like? Ah, this really works.
I wouldn't, there's not a moment that stands out in my mind, because um I didn't have that, oh, this really works, until later, probably until I was um into my must have been my late 20s. because as I was studying the personal development, as I was consuming the information, it was really a slow, and for me, a slow and gradual process of like first logically and academically understanding, and like the shifts be gradually occurring over time. And so gradually that, looking back, it's plain as day that like, oh yeah, okay, so I changed my beliefs about myself, which changed my behaviors in the world, which changed the results I was getting. Like looking back at, at all of my experiences in my, especially in my early 20s, that's clear now. It was not clear to me at the time. Like at the
You did
time,
not see it at the
I
time.
was, yeah, I was in the maze. I was in the chaos. I was in the problem, right? So, I wasn't, as I was getting better and seeing better results, I wasn't immediately connecting it to the work that I was doing, or to the learnings or to the epiphanies that I was having at the time. So if that makes sense.
It does. I believe that as people, we are layered like an onion, or if you want a prettier metaphor, like a diamond, there are different facets
Yeah.
of us all the time. So, did you eventually realize that you let one of your main beliefs about yourself go, or was that gradual as well? That was a belief that hindered you from, stepping forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was both. I think it was definitely gradual and it was over time. Looking back, definitely there were some big internal limiting beliefs that were let go. And again, I didn't realize at the time, but now looking back for sure, especially things around like self-worth, um, just believing that I couldn't do things that other people could do, right? I don't think I ever consciously said, excuse me, to myself or others, like, oh, those people can do this, but I can't. But again, looking back, clearly that was the belief. Like clearly that was the
You
subconscious.
just believed that you couldn't, because I think we are many that recognize this, that there is a belief under the system, so to speak, that I can't do this. Everybody else can, but for some reason we don't even maybe acknowledge it to ourselves that we can't. We just
Precisely.
we
Precisely.
can't. So it makes perfect sense that you only see it when you're looking at the rear view mirror. I wanted to know if there is anything in your journey that has come as a huge surprise for you that you did not believe you would find, or that, is it like this or something?
Um, I mean, there's been a lot, in the process of learning this stuff and becoming a trainer and helping other people. Um, and it continues to happen, every time um that, I utilize one of these tools and I see basically instant or nearly instant change and relief in either myself or in somebody else. Like, even though now logically I know, of course, that's possible because I've seen it personally, 1,000 times, it's still special and a little bit surprising in a good way every single time, right? There's one specific example I can give you where, one day, this was a couple of years ago, I just felt an inspiration to record a certain hypnotic meditation specifically for personal trainers and specifically to help them be more effective in business, right? Because I recognize, personal trainers are coaches, in my opinion, and a lot of coaches have a similar problem. They're very good at helping people get results. They're not as good at connecting with people that want their help to get the results, right? So they're good at this at the coaching, they're not great at the business side. And so I thought that's a great, group of people who have good intentions that could use some support. So I made this hypnotic recording and I sent it to a handful of personal trainers who were following me on social media. And then I kind of forgot about it. And a few months later, one of those people reached out to me and said, my life is totally different. And I can trace it all back to that, listening to that recording, and my business is exploding. And like, I don't know what was in that recording, but like things are different and better. And so that's one of my like favorite examples, especially because, it was a 15-minute recording. It took me less than a day to put together. I kind of sent it out and forgot it, and it was just out there in the world. I don't know how many, if it was more than that, because, it could have been sent around. But at least one person says, they had a big breakthrough because of it, which is really cool.
That is really cool. And also the fact that often we send out things, and when we forget about it, we discovered a bit later on that it comes back in a different shape. So that's also what you send away or give away, the karmic way of looking at things.
Precisely. Yeah, precisely. It was, yeah. I think you're right. There is this cycle sometimes of planting seeds and just letting them grow outside of awareness. And sometimes, that really interesting things come back from them, right? It's not uncommon.
So I know that, or at least for me, it's important to better myself. What do you do when you want to have inspiration to get more? You might have coaches, I don't know, but I think to be a good coach, you need to continuously get better any way, shape, or form. So I'd like to ask you what you do.
Yeah, I always try to be developing myself as much as I can. It kind of comes in waves, sometimes I'll be more actively pursuing a new development strategy or idea. Sometimes I'll be more relaxed about it. Um, I tend not to, stay on the same thing permanently, right? So for a long time, I did daily meditation. I'm currently not doing that, for example. Um, right now, walking is and aiming to get at least, a certain number of steps every day is a priority for me. And I think that really is, if you let it be, it can be a personal development tool as well, particularly if you do walking without media, like without headphones or without, the need to be entertained during the walk, because then it can become meditative. Then it can really become like this um, personal development tool, in addition to being good exercise, right? So right now, walking, as I mentioned to you previously, I've reinvested myself in physical fitness, particularly in the last 5 months, more so than I ever have before in my life. And I'm really enjoying the results of that. That's part of my personal development focus right now. And I don't know what's next. I'm kind of waiting. I have some ideas, but I'm kind of waiting to see what the next avenue forward will be for the next level. Because if you're not growing, you're dying, right? Like I do believe you've always got to have your eyes on the future and bettering yourself.
I always say that you cannot stand still, because if you stand still, you're going backwards. You can
Mm.
always only go forward if you want to go somewhere. Standing still is the world passes you by, whether you like it or not. It's so I agree. And on the walking, I also agree, because if you, especially if you don't have something you're listening to, you can actually hear what yourself are thinking.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
especially nowadays when there are noises in the world always. So going somewhere where there is quiet is actually a luxury today.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. I would say I think there is one exception that I remember actually that just popped into my head when you were saying that. I used to go for jogs and I would
Mhm.
listen to music um while I was jogging. And what I discovered was if it was music, especially music rather than like an audiobook or something like that, um my mind still became free to really think and go inward, because the music was such a minor, it wasn't even a distraction. It would just kind of like at times fade into the
Background.
background, and it had the similar effect as if there was just no music there, where I could feel the barrier between the conscious and the unconscious softening, and like um information, as Tad James would say, bubbling up from the unconscious into conscious awareness. So somebody's watching this and you want to try out what Oman and I are talking about, music optional. It might even, and try both ways, right? Some
Yeah,
people might find better
and
results with
something
no
you
music.
enjoy. You could go swimming, because that's very soothing. I love to bike in the summer, So
Mhm.
that's also, you just see the trees and everything coming, and to be totally relaxed, I think is a good way to allow your unconscious to filter upwards.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, I agree.
You are a man with many layers and many modalities, and you are also a very human being like the rest of us. So have you been through a couple of times when you nearly didn't think you would make it in any shape or form? What pulled you through? That's what I wanted to ask. What pulled you through? Because
Yeah,
you have many modalities, so may or may not be simple, even if we know many things.
yeah, definitely. Yes, definitely. Yes, I've been in, gone through lots of those phases where things were very hard and, the path forward seemed hard or impossible or at least uncertain. Definitely no stranger to that. I'm not really the type to, some people are very transparent about those times in their life, and create content about it, and it becomes part of their messaging. I personally, and I think it's a preference, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with people who want to be super transparent about the hard times. I'm not really like that. I tend to keep those things more to
Oh, I
myself.
didn't mean you
Other
had to
than,
tell us.
yeah,
I
other
just
no,
meant,
no, I mean, I'm just prefacing what I'm going to say here. Other than to say that, yes, absolutely, I do have those moments, right? Just like everybody else. Um, so I like that your question is like, how do I pull myself through? I remember being in like basic training in the military, and I was in the Canadian Army for 5 years. And when I joined the Army, I was older. I was not a young recruit. I was 28 or 29. So I was a full 10 years older than the average recruit in my basic training course. And that made it hard, right? Like, particularly the physical components, which is a very physical experience. And what I realized was, you know, we had something like, I don't know, maybe 40% of the recruits didn't make it through basic training, either dropped out or whatever. And despite the fact that like most of them were younger and fitter than me, I made it to the end and I graduated from basic training, and I went on to graduate from other even more intensive trainings in the military. Um, and I realized it really was the mindset that made the difference. The work that I put in those previous years, learning the self-development, learning the NLP, um, and integrating that understanding, that's what saved me. Like if I hadn't done that, I don't think I would have made it through. And so that experience of being in an extremely hard situation and being at a disadvantage and coming through it successful, that became part of my programming. Right? And so I think this is why a lot of ex-soldiers and ex-military people are so effective in entrepreneurship, um, because you can install that program where it's like things can be hard, and as long as I don't quit or give up, I can make it through, right? And so that experience has continued to pull me through in future hard times, since leaving the military, right? So in entrepreneurship and in personal life, in life in general, just that knowing that regardless of how hard something is, like as long as you still got a heartbeat, and you refuse to quit, you can move forward. So I think that's the main thing that
yeah,
has pulled me through and continues to pull me through when times are harder.
that's powerful, because I had a friend, and she was looking at me and another best friend, and she said, "Well, you always manage to do things. You're always successful." Well, and she, especially to my friend, says, "Well, if you don't succeed," and he said, "Well, not succeeding is not an option. It's you have to do something else." And as long as she lived, she could never grasp that if you try solution A and that doesn't work, you work your way through the alphabet until you come to the end and find something, or you switch it, or you change it. What you don't do is quit.
Yeah,
So
agreed. Agreed. Yeah.
And I think that's what you're talking about, the mindset of I'm going no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a post on the internet recently. It was from Alex Hormozy. I think he was quoting somebody else, but the post was something along the lines of like all other than death, all failure is psychological,
Hmm.
right? Which is very much in alignment with like what NLP practitioners would say, where there's no failure, there's only feedback, right?
Yeah,
Until you're literally physically incapable of taking new actions, and the only time that is if you're
you're dead.
deceased, which we can hardly blame somebody for, right? Um, but yeah, as long as you're still alive, there's always other actions, other decisions, other avenues to explore, right? So yeah.
Yeah, and when you run out of things you think of, I think that's the time when you hire a coach because we are sometimes very limited in our own beliefs. We don't see the forest for all the trees. We don't see what's in front of us because uh, we just don't see it. And
Mhm.
somebody just have to say, "Hey, that have you seen this?" And they go, "Oh." So when in doubt, hire a coach or learn NLP or anything like that so you can cross that hurdle that's keeping you back. And on that matter, I want to ask you, what are you doing right now? Do you have lots of programs? I know you have quite a few, and what's entertaining you for the moment and what's in your future that you would like to do?
There's always lots of fun stuff, always lots of fun stuff going on. These days, my main program in terms of business is Game Changer Academy, which of course you are in. I'm very grateful to say, which is, a robust program for coaches and hypnotherapists, mindset, skill set, business strategy. It's a really good time. Also, currently at the moment, just about to kick off is the YouTube challenge I'm hosting for my clients and for other people as well. Got a hypnosis certification coming up next month, coming up fast. So that'll be fun. Those are always a huge hit. Everybody always loves the 3-day hypnosis cert. So always fun stuff. Always lots of fun stuff going on.
So anyone who has seen this and watched this and is curious to know more, where can they reach you?
Best way to reach me is to just shoot me a message on Instagram, actually, instagram.com/Ryan Montis NLP. You can also check out my website, ryanmontis.com. I don't really update it too often, but shoot me a message, connect with me. Always happy to chat. And I'll whenever you're watching this, I'll let you know what's going on, how you can get involved.
Super cool. And I want to thank you, Ryan, for taking your time. I know you have a ton of stuff to do and looking forward to see it and be a part of it as a Game Changer Academy student. So lovely to have you here. I'm very honored as well that you're taking time. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Amon. Very grateful for the invitation. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the interview. It's been a blast. Love everything you're doing, and keep up the great work.
Thank you. See you soon, everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.